Welcome to another edition of the Sports Wrap with Michael Kravetz, the final episode, the 50th and final, almost marking a full year that I've been doing this. This will be the last one because I'm hoping to get my own radio show when I return to Point Park in the fall on WPPJ. So hopefully everyone will listen, even though I know no one's listening to this right now. But joining me on my final show will be my good friend Corey Cunningham, who's joined me on a couple of the past episodes earlier on when I started this.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here on the final show. It's kind of upsetting that it is the final show, but thanks for having me.
Okay, now I know the Pirates' popular topic that we can talk about first, but I first want to get into all the moves that were made by the Penguins since they were eliminated in the playoffs by the Boston Bruins and all the other news happening with all the NHL free agents and trades. So, Corey, I'll let you comment first on basically all the moves that you liked and disliked about the Penguins that they did.
Okay, all right. Well, I think the piece, he's back. Rob Scuderi is back in the Berg, and I think that's a great signing by Ray Shero. He's a solid defensive defenseman, and I think with his veteran presence, I think we finally found a defensive partner for Letang, because that allows Letang to just go freely. And he knows that he has someone extremely defensively minded behind him in Rob Scuderi. I do like the re-signing of Pascal Dupuis, the extensions of Chris Kunitz, the re-signing of Craig Adams, and I also like the signing of Matt D'Agostini. He has shown that he can score goals. He did 21, I think, goals with St. Louis. I'm very happy with that signing. Matt Cook, sadly, was the man out, but I think it's time the younger players step in. The reason why they signed Craig Adams is because Craig Adams does a lot for the penalty kill. He's a role player, and that's what Matt Cook is, but I think they can find role players within their system that can fill the Cook role.
Yeah, and I want to talk a little bit now about Letang. You know, I was surprised that they gave him the extension because I thought that either he would be traded during the draft or he would be traded midseason next year. 8 years, $58 million, that's a lot. I know he is a great offensive defenseman. I mean, he's not elite just yet, but personally I felt that defensively in the playoffs he just played average. And there are times, especially last season, where he had different lapses where he was playing poor, turning over the puck. It seems like at times he's focused more on scoring, and as a defenseman, that can't be your number one priority.
Well, yeah, he's a hybrid player. He's just like Duncan Keith of the Chicago Blackhawks. He's going to play his offensive role, and he should step it up over time defensively. I think that's one thing that he has to learn over time is how to defend. But there's two sides to every story. I think it's a decent signing. I think the money was a little too high for him. He has yet to prove to me that he's that elite. But overall, I'm happy that he's staying as a Pittsburgh Penguin. I still think there might be, if he doesn't perform, there might be a trade this upcoming summer with him going. But we'll see. That's a long time from now.
So, okay, now we both agree that everything that the Penguins have done, we've liked. So, what do you think, what move will benefit them the most this upcoming season and in the future?
I actually think the Matt D'Agostini signing will actually prove to be tremendous for them. He's one of those players that he'll play the role play. He has some grit to him. He kind of reminds me of a more talented Cal Clutterbuck from the Minnesota Wild, who, when the Penguins traded up in the draft, I thought, okay, well, they're just going to send him to Minnesota to get Cal. But D'Agostini, he has some grit to him, and he knows how to score. He's a 20-goal scorer before. He can do it again, especially when he's going to be playing third line, probably with Brendan Sutter. I see him developing into a really key player for the Pens. I look forward to him playing, and I think with all the veteran presence on the team, I think he'll really thrive in this environment.
Yeah, I agree. D'Agostini, he really hasn't done much the past couple of years, but he can play the same way he did in 2010, 2011 with the Blues. There's a chance that he could really contribute on this team. But for me, I think it's a tie. Signing Scuderi, great move. He's not going to, impress you with his offensive numbers. He's a stay-at-home defenseman. I think he will help Letang. They will probably be one of the top pairs in the league next year, and also the re-signing of Pascal Dupuis. He decided to stay in Pittsburgh. They signed him for less amount of money than probably what he would have gotten other places. He just likes it here, and he just seems to get better with age. I mean, he led the NHL this past season with plus-minus, with plus 31. Sidney Crosby, he always comments on how well they work together, and I had a feeling that maybe Sidney Crosby had a hand in this. Dupuis knew that, maybe if he went to another team, he wouldn't play with the top caliber center that Sidney Crosby is. And I think Dupuis is going to have another 20-goal scoring season. And this time it'll be a full season, so he might get 30 if he's lucky. So, and one move that has really not been talked about, I didn't even see it occurring because it was not talked about. Chris Conner. You remember how he came up with the Penguins, what was it? He had 9 goals in 68 games for them with his 2 seasons here. I think he has a chance to crack the top 4 line, maybe the 4th line, to play alongside Adams. He's a smaller guy, but he has that occasional speed burst, and with his time with the team, I remember a lot of fans really liking him. I think he might be able to provide a little spark if he can crack his way into the lineup.
Oh yeah, for sure. It was especially his presence and a lot of other presences were felt when Malkin and Crosby were out that year. Chris Conner stepped it up. You saw people like Brett Sterling step it up. So I think Chris Conner can contribute. I think he will crack the lineup. Be maybe one of those guys you healthy scratch every once in a while, but he will play on the 4th line for sure, and I look forward to seeing Conner back in a Penguins uniform.
And you mentioned earlier about Matt Cook being they were not able to re-sign him. The Penguins just did not have enough cap space to do it. He ends up signing a 3-year deal with the Minnesota Wild. What will be the biggest thing that the Penguins will miss because of his absence?
I think you're gonna miss. First of all, I think you're gonna miss a lot of things on the penalty kill. Matt Cook he's exactly like Adams. He's a warrior. He blocked shots, but he added somewhat of a threat on the penalty kill. He was always willing to say, go up and try to score. Ever since the loss of Jordan Saul, and now you lost Tyler Kennedy and Matt Cook, so the 3rd line from the 2009 Stanley Cup run is completely gone. So you have to redesign that line. Do I think the Cook not signing with the Pens going to hurt the Pens? It might. It might at first. You're going to lose a lot of grit, but there's many other guys in the system that can just fill grit. I think Joe Vitale's role is going to be upgraded this year. I think he's going to play a significant role. The kid has skill. Let him play. He's fun to watch. As far as how I think Cook's going to do in Minnesota, I think he's going to do actually pretty good. They lost Cal Clutterbuck to the Islanders, so they had to get some type of grinder that had that presence that a lot of teams don't really like. But I like Cook. I'm happy that he went to a team that he's familiar with, especially since Mike Yeo is the coach up in Minnesota. And I look forward to seeing him sometime this season.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned how Tyler Kennedy was traded away during the draft to the Sharks. So now, as we take a look at the way the roster is shaping up for next season, safe to say the top 2 lines are set pretty much. First line being Crosby, Kunitz, Dupuis. The second line, Neil, Malkin, and Bo Bennett. How do you think the 3rd and 4th lines are going to look?
Well, Sutter's going to center. I think it's going to be Jokinen and D'Agostini on the 3rd line, and I think the 4th line is going to be Vitale, Adams, and it's going to be glass switching with a bunch of different players. I really think if Jokinen plays with Sutter, that's going to help Sutter in the long run because Jokinen he knows his stuff. He knows how to win face-offs. He knows how to quote-unquote cheat on these face-offs. And he's a good veteran. That's if he doesn't get traded, which we don't know. They're still going to be over on the salary cap, especially since they still have qualifying offers out to Robert Bortuzzo, who is now in arbitration, and Dustin Jeffrey. So if Jeffrey signs, expect them to make a move to maybe clear up some room. Maybe they even say, give the 3rd line to Dustin Jeffrey, get rid of Jokinen, and move Jokinen down to the 4th line.
Yeah, and for the defensemen, safe to say the top pairing will be Scuderi and Letang. Second pairing, Paul Martin. A lot of speculation as to whether maybe Orpik would be traded. The third pairing, Niskanen. I think it's safe to say, at all the defensemen, he's due to make the most money next year, $2.3 million. So I think he will ultimately be traded. And with him departing, I'm assuming it could be Simone Dupre, could be Derek England there, a lot of other younger guys down in the AHL that might come up and produce. So I'm expecting them not to be done yet with their defense, setting that until, I would say, maybe another month from now.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think Matt Niskanen is definitely on the trade block, and I actually think Derek England might be on the trade block. His salary isn't that high, but you have so many young defensemen in this prospect group that you have. I mean, you have Brian Dolman, who's supposed to be ready, NHL ready right now. Oli Mata and Pouliot have both been invited to the development camp this upcoming weekend, and if they perform incredibly well there, who knows? They may crack the lineup. You don't know at this point, and you have to give opportunities to young players because they're your future. I don't see them getting rid of Brooks Orpik. I think he's going to be a player that might walk next year and just go to another team. But as far as the Pens D goes, I think Niskanen is definitely on the trade block. I think Orpik might be in some talks. I think Derek England's also in some talks as well.
And with that now, I'm going to go over some of the moves that were made during the free agency, some trades that went down, some of the just more major ones, noticeable ones. Evgeny Nabokov staying with the New York Islanders. I think they will be a very competitive team next year and in the future. Ray Emery signs with the Flyers. They now have two goalies where they could ultimately have a 1-2 combo throughout the year. I don't know who's going to be the starting one there, whether it be Emery or Mason. Daniel Alfredsson, surprisingly, I thought maybe he would retire, signs a 1-year deal with the Red Wings. Nathan Horton signs with Columbus to a 7-year deal. Mike Ribeiro signs with the Coyotes to a 4-year deal. Iginla, oddly enough, signs a 1-year deal with the Bruins, who he scorned earlier this past season. Joe Corvo going back to the Senators. The two big trades that occurred, Bobby Ryan traded to the Ottawa Senators for Jakob Silfverberg, Stefan Noesen, and a 2014 first-round pick. And then the Bruins and the Stars complete a 7-player trade where the Bruins send Tyler Seguin, Rich Peverly, Ryan Button to the Stars for Louis Eriksson, Riley Smith, Matt Frazier, and Joe Morrow, formerly of the Pittsburgh Penguins. So, out of these moves and some of the other ones I didn't mention, what do you think was the one that caught your eye?
The one that caught my eye was LeCavalier going to the Flyers. That's a little goofy considering that the Flyers actually have some decent centers that are young, and that includes Shen and Couturier, and they're kind of just saying, well, those guys are just going to fill minor roles, or whether we're going to push them to the wings. I do not like Vincent LeCavalier. I've never thought he was an all-star caliber player, and I just don't know if that's such a great signing by them. Also, the big one that I'm really confused about is Ilya Kovalchuk. He left. I don't know why he decided now is the right time for him to leave, but nonetheless, Ilya Kovalchuk has left the NHL. He has officially retired, and today it was announced that he signed with a KHL team in St. Petersburg.
Yeah, I was really surprised to see that. I mean, it was a bad move on his part. He shouldn't have signed that lucrative contract. It would have helped them. The Devils sign, the likes of Parise, other players. I think it was just a coward move on his part. I mean, if anything, he should have just stayed retired. He shouldn't have signed with the team in the KHL. And now there's just been more speculation, what if more Russian players do this? And I know that they were saying, I was watching one of the shows here in Pittsburgh, saying how fans tend to root harder for Canadian players and American players. They don't really trust Russian players because they think sometimes they're lazy and would rather play in their home towns. I don't know if I'd go that far. Jaromir Jagr's still here. Malkin's still here. This may happen in the future, but right now I don't see anything like that happening with the majority of those players.
I think the only player that you really have to wonder whether he's actually going to do it is Ovechkin. I don't see him staying with the Capitals very long. There's some speculation going on that him and Oates don't really get along. But Ovechkin hasn't really been producing. He's kind of that star that just is a star. He doesn't have any cup to his name, and until he gets that cup, he's going to not do as well as you would hope he would. He was drafted number 1 overall. He should already have a cup. But that's just speculation. I don't know if Ovechkin's actually going to leave. Being a Pens fan, I would like to see him leave, but that's a completely different story.
Okay, now, I know it's super early, but since this will probably be the last time we talk for a while about hockey, right now, I know teams are still not done adding players to their roster, but if you had to pick a team to win the 2004 Stanley Cup, just based on all the moves that have happened in this past season, who do you think would be your pick?
Detroit Red Wings, and I say that with a lot of confidence because of the fact that they have boosted their offense ridiculously. They add Daniel Alfredsson, who he'll fit in well with all the Swedes that already play. They added Stephen Weiss from the Florida Panthers as a centerman, so that makes their center more deep. I think they're going to be a very tough team this year. I think the Penguins still have a good chance, but as far as not picking the Pens, I think Detroit definitely has the best shot.
I was trying to think, someone from the Western Conference, but you can call me Homer if you want. I just think the Penguins, if not now, when? Because they just, Ray Shero staying the status quo, bringing back all these players. He feels that they have a good chance of winning. And why not? When you have the 2 best players in the world, you're going to have a chance to compete for the Stanley Cup. And they came so close this past season, and I just don't see another team in the Eastern Conference that I think will be able to challenge them come playoff time. You could say Boston, you could even say Philadelphia, Washington, but I think Fleury, he's going to have a bounce-back year. He will not be pulled in the playoffs, and right now, I just think the Penguins will finally get the second cup for the Crosby-Malkin era. And now I want to get into something that I discovered a couple weeks ago. Marvin Bagley III, a young man from Arizona, 14 years old, just finished the 7th grade, and he has gotten 3 scholarship offers from college basketball universities: Creighton, San Francisco, Northern Arizona, and about a week ago, Arizona State. I think it is absolutely ridiculous that they are offering a 14-year-old scholarships. Now, I understand how much potential this kid has. He's 6'8", 185 pounds. He does not play on his junior high team because he would dominate every game. He's training at some sort of academy, and he's not under any pressure. He's taking this in stride, which I'm surprised at. But I think for the normal 14-year-old, it would just put too much on his or her shoulders. Because you haven't even chosen what high school you're going to. And way far off from thinking about what college. But I guess they see what type of player this kid could turn into, and they just want to get a jump start on the other programs trying to recruit him. But I just think it's the wrong thing to do.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. And to be honest, I do have a problem with any type of program saying we're going to go after a 14-year-old kid in 7th grade. The kid may not develop into being that great of a basketball player, or his grades might not hold up. You don't know. It's way too early to determine. And that's another thing that I always like to talk about, is the idea that basketball isn't the only sport that's doing this. Baseball has been doing this for quite a long time. Baseball has been going into the Dominican Republic and a lot of other Caribbean countries and picking up players that are 15, 14, 16 years old and signing them to million dollar contracts. That's ridiculous. There's no proven guarantee that those players are any good. They're way too young to be signed to this huge contract. I think it's just plain ridiculous.
Yeah, and I would hope, I know it's probably not going to happen, that maybe the NCAA would impose a rule saying that colleges, universities aren't able to offer kids scholarships until they reach the age of 16. I think 16, I know that's still a little bit too young, but I think that would be an effective rule Obviously, I don't see the NCAA doing this because of the person in charge there and Mark Emmert, but I just think it's ridiculous because who knows, maybe in a few years, 5 years down the road, we'll see them offering like 9-year-old scholarships, which will just be insane. But, and I would also like to touch up on one thing. Marquise Pouncey was spotted a few nights ago with his brother, Mike Pouncey, wearing T-shirts and hats saying "Free Hernandez." You have the right to do that, but I just think it was stupid on his part. You know it's going to cause some sort of controversy. I know they wanted to support their college teammate. They all attended the University of Florida. But, I mean, come on, don't do that, because now there's going to be Steeler fans all griping about it. And, you know, with Pouncey's Twitter history, that it's just going to add more fuel to the fire.
Yeah, it was just a plain stupid move by Pouncey. I don't know what he was thinking there, and that's pretty much it. He was downright stupid. I don't care if you're partying, you don't wear something like that. If you want to support your friend, you don't support him at a party where people are drunk and wasted and, you know, throwing a hat that says "Free Hernandez." That just doesn't make any sense, and I'm absolutely shocked that he would even wear it to begin with.
And with that, we now enter the meat of the show. The Pittsburgh Pirates, the first half officially came to an end yesterday against the New York Mets. And first, we're going to talk about the recent 6-game homestand against the Athletics and the New York Mets.
Okay. Well, let's begin with the Athletics series. Me and Mike were fortunate enough to go to the first 2 games of the series. The first game where Bartolo Colon pitched fantastic for a 40-year-old. I'm still absolutely shocked that this guy could pitch this well. There's something going on there. I don't know what it is, but there is definitely something not right with a 40-year-old throwing a 94-mile-per-hour fastball. I'm pretty sure when other 40-year-old pitchers were pitching, they were throwing around 82. So, as far as that goes, the Pirates' offense, I don't know where they were. I have no idea what was going on. They just did not show up for the first 2 games of the series. They had plenty of men in scoring position, but it usually comes with 2 outs. They can't hold on to a rally. I think one thing that I've noticed watching other teams this season is the Pirates are very selective on what they're swinging at. They're not taking what's given to them. They're swinging at pitches that are out of the zone, and when you watch other teams, you can see other teams, they're not swinging for the fence. They're swinging to get it in play. The problems with the Pirates right now is they're swinging too much for the fence. McCutchen, for instance, is really trying too hard. I think Pedro has done a fantastic job this season, and it showed in the Athletic series. They just were swinging. They were trying to be that, I'm going to save the team, I'm going to hit the home run that makes us win. When meanwhile, what they should be saying is, I want to help this team win, so I'm going to do my best to contribute by getting on base rather than swinging for the fence. Overall, they lost 2 out of 3 against the Athletics. The first 2 games weren't too pretty. Great pitching. Absolutely spectacular pitching. Especially in the third game it was Liriano. And Liriano, I don't know how he didn't get elected to the All-Star game. This man has been unbelievable. Just like the Russell Martin signing, whose bat has gone quite cold. But nonetheless, Liriano pitched fantastic in that third game in that series, and the Pirates offense kind of woke up in that game. But overall, the offense is still kind of lacking, and that definitely showed during that series.
Yeah, and then you know the Athletics, they're a good team, leading the AL West. So, losing 2 out of 3 to them isn't bad, but just the way they lost was kind of disappointing. So then they follow that up. The Mets coming to town right before the All-Star game. David Wright did not receive a good reception. We'll get into that a little bit later. But this series is all about comebacks for the Pirates. They go down early the first 2 games. They end up coming back. Great pitching efforts by A.J. Burnett and Charlie Morton. They win the first game in, I believe it was 11 innings. They win it 3-2.
Yes.
And then Saturday night, they also win it 3-2. So, and yesterday, Garrett Cole, he's had his struggles in the first inning. Pirates, they had some men in scoring position late. They weren't able to capitalize on it. They lose the game 4-2. But you take 2 out of 3, and like they were saying, the past 2 years when the Pirates were heading into the All-Star break, they were on a high, coming off, a couple winning streaks. This one, they lose the game right before the All-Star break. So maybe that's going to turn into a good sign. I don't know. But it was a nice way to close off the first half. So now we will be grading the offense, defense, pitching, and the managing. So I'll let you take the first couple grades for the offense and the defense.
All right, for the offense. Now, this is a very touchy subject here because there's been points, like during the 9-game win streak, where they were fantastic. They could not be stopped. And then you see the opposite side where they were losing 2 out of 3 in each series against the Phillies and the Athletics and whatnot. And overall, I think the offense gets somewhere around a C minus or a C. They are mediocre. They're not good. They rank, I think, 26th in runs scored. They're not producing with men on base. They're getting hits. Don't get me wrong. It's not like they're not hitting the ball and they're only getting like 2 hits a game. During that athletic series, they would get 9-10 hits a game, but they would leave 15 men on base. You just can't do that. You have to cash in. And that's where the offense is lacking for me. Especially with the idea, and I've thrown this out to a couple people, the idea that the Pirates again are relying on that one guy to carry the team. Now, a lot of people say, oh, that's not happening, they're a better team this year. But if you look at what's going on, last year at this point in time, Andrew McCutchen had, he was in the higher teens or maybe early 20s in home runs. Pedro's in the same position. Yes, Pedro's his average is not as high as McCutchen's was that time, but it seems as if they're repeating history. I'm not saying they're going to collapse. I'm not for that at all. I just think Pedro Alvarez is carrying this team with his offense. He's coming up with clutch hitting. He's become a much better player. I've seen a guy develop over the years, and he's really proving to be good. So overall offense, I give a C minus. I'm going to stick with the C minus, and it's only boosted from a D because of Pedro Alvarez and how well he's done. As far as defense goes, I think their defense deserves anywhere from an A minus to an A. They have very good fielding percentages. Yes, there are errors. It happens to every team. But overall, defensively, we're a solid defensive team. It's not like we can't make plays. We make plays. I think Neil Walker especially has improved at second base. I think Clint Barnes, for only playing a couple days a week and not even, I think he's done a great job coming off the bench. Overall defense, I'll give him an A minus.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you on the offense. C minus, possibly a D plus. The big thing is with runners in scoring position, like we talked about earlier, they are, I believe, hitting .232 with runners in scoring position, which ranks last in the major leagues. Yesterday they were 1 for 10 with runners in scoring position. That has to improve. Last year, about midway through the season, they had 3 players in the top 25 hitting in runners in scoring position. This year they have none in the top 50. McCutchen, like we said, he has to step it up. He's hitting over 320 when the bases are empty. With runners in scoring position, he's hitting below 245. That's just, I don't know. I can't explain that. I know he set himself up with that monstrous season he had last year in June and July. There was no way he was going to produce those same numbers again. But that's the only bright thing, though, is that you can say, well, he hasn't reached near that potential just yet. He's just over 300 now going into the All-Star break, so it's looking like he is on the upside as far as the offense goes. As far as the defense, I'd say B+. I wouldn't really fault them with anything. Right field is probably the one position where they are ranking in the bottom of the league in fielding percentage just because they've thrown Tabata, Jones, and Snyder out there. And, come on, Snyder and Jones aren't really the most athletic right fielders. I mean, obviously, you remember the Snyder catch from last year, but that's going to happen once in a blue moon. Errors, they do rank near the bottom of the league, but they haven't had many errors recently. Alvarez, I think, has improved tremendously on the defensive side. He has his fair share of errors, but some of the plays he's made there, he's looking like a Gold Glove third baseman. So I could maybe see him in the future getting a Gold Glove, but I'd hold off that right now. But yeah, C- on the offense and then a B+ for the defense. Now, as far as the managing and pitching goes, pitching A+. They are the best pitching staff. They have the best pitching staff right now, I think, in baseball in terms of ERA. The bullpen lights out with Melanson, Grilly, Justin Wilson, and Vin Mazzaro now. Melanson recently elected to the All-Star game because of the Locke injury. I mean, what can you say? Liriano, signing that you thought maybe we might as well take a chance on him. 9-3, 2.00 ERA. Jeff Locke, 8-2 at the half, 2.15 ERA. People were hoping that he doesn't have a fall off like the recent, I guess you could say the recent phenom that was last year, and James McDonald, who just completely fell off the map. I don't see that happening with Locke. I don't know if you remember, McDonald struck out a lot of batters last year. Locke's not a strikeout pitcher, so I guess you can say his ERA might flatten out, maybe to like a 3, maybe 3.15, but I just think he's more confident now, learning a lot from A.J. Burnett. And then what can you say about Burnett? I know he missed a month there recently, but he has given you a quality start after quality start. So pitching A+, managing, I give that an A- too. I think the third base coach, I know a lot of people don't really talk about it, Nick Leyva. He's had some interesting calls, to say the least, whether on sending runners to home or holding them. But Clint Hurdle, you got to love the way he's managed this ball club, especially how he's managing the bullpen. They could have been way overtaxed earlier on in the year, but he was able to, bring guys up, likes of Duke Welker, Ryan Reed, bringing up Brandon Compton. The only downfall to this bringing up guys was Mike Zagurski because he was just garbage, to say the least. But pitching, A+, managing, A-.
I completely agree with you, especially on the pitching. This staff has been phenomenal. They're doing it without Wandy Rodriguez, too. You have to remember that. He's an amazing pitcher, too. So, I mean, you look at Burnett. He's out for a while. He comes back in, and he throws 2 quality, absolutely quality outings. And I'm very impressed with how he's been throwing. Liriano, like you said, unbelievable signing. You got to take a chance on someone like that, and he's proved to be great, and I hope he takes the club option for next year. He's just done an amazing job with this team. As far as Jeff Locke goes, I mean, he's an all-star. He's just been phenomenal, especially since last year. I think his ERA in the majors was around 5, and the year before that it was around 6 or 7. So he's clearly improving, and I think he's trusting his stuff more. And the thing I really like, and I don't think a lot of teams realize this, and a lot of other announcers realize this, A.J. Burnett has helped that clubhouse so much, especially with Jeff Locke and Garrett Cole. I've watched so many games where I just see Locke, who looks attached to Burnett's hip. I mean, he's there all the time with Burnett. And I like that because he's a young pitcher. He's learning off of a veteran who's been around all of baseball. And I've always loved how Burnett's carried this team. I think their pitching's just been phenomenal. And the bullpen, I mean, you can't go wrong. You have Morris, Watson, Wilson, Melanson, Grilly, Mazzaro, and Genmar Gomez. I mean, you have so many guys that can go so far, so many long relievers that you can just reduce your roles for a couple nights. Say, pitch an inning for me, and that's all you need to do. And it's proving to work. And I think, like a lot of people are saying, oh, it's going to fall off. It's going to fall. I don't think it's going to fall off. Clint Hurdle has managed this bullpen so well that they don't have to worry about a fall off. If Grilly somehow starts to stumble, I think Justin Wilson can hop in that closer role and be a closer just like that. Justin Wilson, he's throwing 99 miles per hour. I'm not complaining with that kid. As far as managing goes, I'm going to give a B plus, and the only reason why is because I think there's certain times where Clint Hurdle gets into the idea that he should just take out his pitcher because of a pitch count. Um, I don't like some of the moves that he's made. He goes to the bullpen, I think, a little bit too early. Yes, they've been locked down, but there's certain times where you just have to say, all right, I'm just going to trust this guy out there. And I know a couple times it's happened with Garrett Cole, but why not let him out there? Why not let him try it? I mean, it's his first year. You got to let it happen at least a couple times. But as far as managing goes, B plus. Pitching, absolutely A plus. Best staff in the majors, and I'm actually shocked that most of them didn't get elected. I actually expected about 7 Pirates to go, and most of them being pitchers. So, all right.
And now, very favorite part now, first half MVP and then the first half LVP, which is the least valuable player for you.
All right, so this is kind of a toss-up for MVP. There's a lot of players that you can pick, and there's a lot of players that you really can't pick. For me, the MVP of this team has to be Francisco Liriano. Without a doubt, this guy has been phenomenal. Yes, Jeff Locke has been also just as good, but if you look at Liriano just pitching up there, he is so calm, so confident up there. And the thing I really like about him is he gets strikeouts. Locke doesn't get many strikeouts in a game, and that's just the type of pitcher he is. He's just like Paul Mulholland, more of a contact guy. But Liriano has been phenomenal. Phenomenal pickup for this team. As far as pitching goes, he's actually hitting the ball. Yes, he did have that blunder when he was supposed to run home, and he kind of stopped and looked around like he didn't know what he was doing. But overall, I absolutely love Liriano. I think he's a great pitcher and just a phenomenal player. I hope his success continues with the Pirates, and definitely worthy of my vote for first half MVP. As far as LVP, there's a couple. I really have to think about this because there's certain players that, well, they just stunk. Now, if Jameis McDonald would have never got injured, he would probably be my vote, but he's injured, so I really can't pick him. He did not have any good outings, and he should have been traded when they had the opportunity, when he was on the quote-unquote high that he was on. But as far as LVP, I'm actually going to give it to Mr. Clint Barmes. And the only reason why I'm giving it to Barmes over the other candidate for me, which was Michael McHenry, Clint Barmes, although he's done okay, his offense isn't clicking at all. As of late, he's been doing better, but it's the idea that he keeps saying he's going to get better and better and better, and he's not. He's not producing anything on offense, and his defense has been lackluster sometimes. Yes, it's been good other times, but there's been times when he hopped in and he committed 2 or 3 errors in a game, and that's unacceptable for a veteran like Clint Barmes. Now, Michael McHenry, he's a different story. He's a backup catcher. Both these guys are backups. There's not really a starter other than Travis Snyder that has been bad, but Michael McHenry has been very disappointing this year, and it's not so much of the offense, but for me it's more of he's not commanding the pitching staff like he used to. When Garrett Cole pitches and Michael McHenry catches, Cole pitches like crap. I don't know whether it's something with the location or how McHenry calls the game, but McHenry isn't doing what he did his first year with the Pirates. I don't know what it is as far as, commanding the pitching staff, but it seems as if Russell Martin has completely taken over, and due to McHenry's reduced playing time, he's just not performing at all. And I figure Mike's probably going to attack some of the right fielders, maybe even some of the first basemen. I mean, there's a lot of people that you can go for LVP. I'm just going to stick with Clint Barmes just because we're paying him $5 million a year and he's not producing at all.
So okay, now both picks were spot on. But just for the show and purposes, I'm going to pick some others. MVP, you could go with Martin. You could even go with Marte, go with Pedro Alvarez. For me, it has to be Alvarez. Won a couple of games this year with the long ball. 24 home runs now, 62 RBIs. Much improved defensively. And his batting average is up there. I believe he's batting 250. And normally maybe a 220 hitter at best. I know he struck out a lot of times, but you just got to live with that. I think he is now poised to show that he can carry this team on his shoulders. I know he doesn't necessarily want to, but it's nice that they can now have at least two guys that feel like they can do that in him and McCutchen. As far as the LVP goes, I'm going to have to go with Brandon Inge. Basically, you could say it's the bench as a whole, but if you had to pick one guy out, it's Brandon Inge. He's batting 183, on-base percentage of 206. He was not brought in to be a starter. He's brought in to get timely hits off the bench and produce a little power occasionally. And he only has one home run. I think he is a horrible player. You can say that, he's not accustomed to coming off the bench. I don't care. He knew that when he was signed by the Pirates that was going to be his role. He has just tailed off completely. So many times he's come up this year with the bases loaded, and he struck out. Multiple times he strikes out looking, which is even worse. The whole bench, though. Oh my God, Snyder, who's now been reduced to a bench role. Horrible since May 4th, batting, I believe it's 191 since May 4th. Gabby Sanchez, when he's not in there, he's given you more power than I thought he would give you, but he's still not producing in clutch situations. Came up recently in the Mets series with the bases loaded and swings at a horrible pitch outside the zone for a ground out. Garrett Jones, who's also been platooning with Sanchez at first, his numbers are down from last year. I think he will, though, have a better second half. Michael McHenry, as you mentioned, just not having the same season he had in the past 2 years, not having an impact at all. Went 0 for 4 yesterday. His average is way below the Mendoza line. And I know I'm forgetting someone else.
Did you say Clint Barmas?
And Barmas, too. He's just been... I didn't expect much from him this year, but I thought his offense would have at least been a little bit better, but it's declined even more. So there's not much else to say about this bench. Tabata, though, he's now getting the starting role in right field. We'll see what he can do, but just pinch hitting has been a problem, too, because they are batting 197 in pitch hitting situations, only 16 RBIs in 132 at-bats. That's just not cutting it. The bench has to be stronger if they want to continue to contend in the second half. And LVP, Brandon Inge all the way. MVP, Pedro Alvarez. And now, I think what you need to talk about now is what type of moves the Pirates should make. There have been players recently, Clint Barmas and Garrett Jones, who were saying that the Pirates don't need to make any moves because they think that they haven't hit their stride yet on offense. I wouldn't go as far as saying that because, what happens if they do fall short of making the playoffs and they don't make any moves? Then the whole talk over the offseason will be, why didn't Huntington go and make moves? So, Corey, what do you think, whether it be right field, adding another pitcher, first base, what position and what players do you think they can try and target?
All right, so this is quite a tough decision here. I think as far as pitching goes, I think they're okay. You always hear you never have enough pitching, but we don't know what Wandy's status is. I don't know if he's coming back or not, or whether they're planning on him coming back. I think if he is supposed to come back, you don't touch any pitching. Because you also have Genmar Gomez, who can easily hop in and do a spot start, or even join the rotation again. Genmar has been great in all of his starts except for one against Cincy where he got injured. So I don't think you touch starting pitching. First base is kind of a tough situation there. It's mostly because this platoon isn't working out because neither guy is really producing. But still, you're still getting. I think you have 15 home runs from the first base position, which isn't exactly great, but it isn't exactly bad. So I'm not going to attack first base. I'm going to attack right field, and it's mostly because Travis Snyder has been one of the most disappointing pickups you'd ever see. This guy, his first interview said, I look forward to being the right fielder on this team because I want to play in this ballpark because it's so beautiful. I want to hit the ball over right field, over that Clemente wall. But he hasn't done anything. He's hit 3 home runs, 22, I think, RBIs, and his average is maybe 219 now. I mean, the guy had a good spring training, don't get me wrong. In spring training, I was looking at his numbers, he was batting like 330, which is good. But I don't know what happened. I don't know whether he's just not embraced the role or whether the pitching coach isn't helping him as much, but Travis Snider has been absolutely disappointing. And Tabata, I like him. I used to not like him because he's somewhat lazy. But Tabata is not going to produce power from that spot. Yesterday's game, they put him in an RBI position, the 5th spot in the lineup. And he didn't do anything there. He was, I think, 0 for 4 in that game, which is kind of upsetting to see a guy that was batting like 306, put him in there, and his average dropped to like 297. I think Tabata could be a bench player and also a role player for them for other outfield positions. I think he'd be someone that you could platoon with, but there's no way that you can have Tabata in there every single day. As far as targets go, there's plenty of targets out there. Nate Shearholtz, for instance, from the Cubs, they're speculating he's a target, but he only has 11 homers, and that's the highest he's ever had in his career. So if you want power, I don't think Shearholtz is going to give you it. And another big name out there, right fielder, well, couple. You have Marlon Byrd from the Mets, who has 15 homers, I think, 50 RBIs now. I mean, he's an older guy. He may do a good job for you out there. He plays pretty much every day, so he's someone that you could definitely platoon Tabata with. Another player I like that wouldn't cost you that much would be Raul Ibanez. And I say Raul Ibanez not because I'm not one of those guys that says, oh, veteran presence, you absolutely need it. But Raul's hitting, I think he has 24, 25 homers this season. And the guy's 40-some years old, and he's hitting ridiculous homers. So I say trade a simple prospect away, not a major prospect, or maybe trade 2 minor prospects. Get Raul Ibanez. He can platoon with Tabata out there. But if the Pirates are really looking to make a gigantic splash, they can go after Giancarlo Stanton. But it's going to come at a huge, huge cost. If you want Giancarlo Stanton, you're probably going to have to give up Tyon, Polanco, and probably someone like another pitcher or another outfielder, such as Bell or something like that. Stanton's going to cost you a lot. I don't think the Pirates are going to go that far. I think getting Raul Ibanez or getting Marlon Byrd would help this team significantly, and they could platoon with with Jose Tabata out there. Travis Snider, I think his role is done here on the Pirates. I don't see him staying much longer. Either that or they can send him down to the minors. Maybe that's something that he needs to get a wake-up call or something from.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with you on the right fielding position. They definitely need to make a move there. First base, I'm fine with them at leaving a platoon between Gabby Sanchez and Garrett Jones because I think both of them will have better second halves. As far as the targets will go, I think there's 2 guys out there that will cost you some money. They are having pretty good years still. Alfonso Soriano with the Cubs, 16 home runs, 20 doubles, and Alex Rios of the White Sox, so oddly enough, 2 Chicago teams. Rios is hitting .270. Now, he only has 11 home runs, but he's shown that he can get on base. His on-base percentage, I believe, ranks, I think, top 20 among outfielders in the major leagues. And, I mean, just imagine if you had the outfield of Marte, McCutchen, and Rios. That's a pretty darn athletic outfield. And not to mention, he also runs the bases really well. 20 stolen bases right now. So you'd have to eat up about $12.5 million I don't know if Huntington's willing to do that, but guess what? If you have a contending team and you want to win now, why not? And then with Soriano, you might have to give up just a little bit. Soriano, he's very objectionable to where he wants to go because he has that no trade clause. He rejected a trade to San Francisco last year, so don't know if that'll come to fruition. But I think Soriano, he's still a power bat, and he still can hit the ball out there. So he hasn't played right field in a long time. He's primarily left fielder, but who knows? That could just give you some more power from the outfielding position. And there's one guy on here that he's playing with a somewhat a contender right now, but I think that they're going to fall off, and that is Michael Kadire of the Colorado Rockies. They're about mid-pack of the NL West. That whole division's up for grabs right now. So it's just a matter of not if they think that they will be contenders come the trading deadline, which is in about 2.5, 3 weeks. Kadire is having probably one of the best years of his career. He's batting .330, 16 home runs. Just been hitting the cover off the ball. Obviously, it's a course field, so it's the offensive numbers are a little inflated there. But he would be a great addition to this team. So right fielder is definitely what the team needs. I mean, Tabata's been playing well though, but I think that's just that's fooling the team right now. I don't think he's going to keep this up in the second half. But I think he's your best option as kind of like the backup outfielder over Snyder, definitely over Jones. I think Jones playing right field, his days are over there. But is with the bench, bring up some guys from AAA. I'm not sure what guys are available out there that you can bring in for the bench. Just release Brandon Inge outright. I don't want to see him on the field again. His freaking cat eyes. Bring up Ivan De Jesus, who they got in the Boston trade. He's hitting the ball pretty well down in AAA. Maybe bring up Andrew Lambeau. Maybe try to get him to play another position. Maybe, or maybe they need two outfielders. I don't know. But he's been hitting the ball there well. Maybe bring up Matt Haig too. He's played third base and first base occasionally. So maybe some internal options would be best for the bench. There is, though, however, I just wanted to throw this out there. Recently heard this yesterday. The Washington Nationals are thinking about moving Ryan Zimmerman over to first base, which would leave them to the option of maybe trying to shop around Adam LaRoche. Now, I know that the Pirates, they're not too big on him with the 2 seasons he had here, but last year hit 33 home runs. He was a slow starter here when he was there in Pittsburgh. He's usually had better second halves. I don't think, though, that they're ready to give up on Sanchez or Jones at the first base position, so I don't think that will happen. Just throwing it out there just for old time's sake, because I think LaRoche at least deserves his name to be in contention of coming back to the Pirates. But I expect Huntington to make a move, because if he doesn't, don't see the team making the playoffs. And now the final thing we're going to get into with the Pirates, basically like a review of the first half. Second half, will there be a collapse? 56-37 right now, second best first half since 1971. 9 games up on a wild card spot, 1 game behind the Cardinals for first place in the NL Central. I think there's no chance in hell that they're going to collapse. They're going to finish over 500. Not going to say they're definitely going to make the playoffs because the Reds are going to be around there, the Cardinals. And I do think the Dodgers and the Giants are going to make a push for that, the second wild card spot. So I'm not going to say they're going to make the playoffs just yet, but I think they will well finish about 10 games at least over 500 to finish the year.
Oh, I completely agree. There is no chance that this team is going to go through a collapse. They are built to last. Their pitching, no matter how many times someone gets injured, they always have a backup. And I think they're solid there. I don't see them collapsing at all. As far as playoffs go, I think they might be able to sneak into a wild card. I mean, they have 9 games up, and that's a lot of recovery time for other teams to try to get in there. As long as the Pirates keep winning their games, that's all the hell they have to worry about. I think they're okay. I think they're gonna last. I want to say they're gonna end up with about 93 or 94 wins, which I'd be incredibly satisfied with. In fact, I would like to throw a party if they do so. I think they'll be good. They'll be fine. I think the Pirates are set.
And now the last topic, since it is the All-Star game coming up on Tuesday night, Home Run Derby tomorrow, the whole situation with David Wright and Pedro Alvarez.
Oh, so I don't like David Wright's picks, but I like David Wright as a player. David Wright's a fantastic player. He kind of reminds me of an older Donaldson from the Oakland A's. He's just a very athletic guy. He's not going to hit for that much power, but his picks of Kadire, Harper, and Cargo, I only like one of them, and that's Cargo. Cargo's been known to hit the long ball. He can't play though. So what happens? Pedro ends up getting picked. Pedro Alvarez should have been in there in the first place. There is no reason why Bryce Harper should have been in there. I don't care how many fans say, oh, well, Bryce Harper does so well in batting practice. Bryce Harper is not home run derby material. Home run derby is meant for power hitters. When you see a power hitter, your first reaction is to say, Bryce Harper is not a power hitter. Bryce Harper is not a power hitter. He shouldn't be in there. He shouldn't have been one of the first picks. But David Wright, in his defense, said, oh, that's for the fans. That isn't for the fans. I don't know what fans asked for Bryce Harper to be in there. I don't want to see him in there. I don't think he will produce. Michael Kadire, I'm okay with, because Michael Kadire has shown some amount of power this year, and him and Wright are good friends. So I don't really have a tremendous problem with that. I think Kadire will probably not go very far in this competition. Either will Harper or either will Wright. But as far as Wright goes, I'm okay with him then picking Pedro after Cargo. Now, if he would have went with Dominic Brown, I would have still been okay, because Dominic Brown deserves to be in there too. But downright, he should never picked Harper. Absolutely not.
And so with that, tonight the Home Run Derby participants will be from the NL side, David Wright, Pedro Alvarez, Bryce Harper, Michael Kadire. And on the AL side, Robinson Cano, Chris Davis, Prince Fielder, and Yoenis Cespedes, who did not make the All-Star team, but he was picked to compete in the Home Run Derby. As far as my picks go for tonight, I think that on the AL side, making the finals will be Prince Fielder. He quite possibly could be one of the greatest home run derby hitters of all time. And I think on the NL side, I'm going to go with Pedro Alvarez. I think just Citi Field, I think it's favorable to the lefties. I want to pick Alvarez. I want to root him on, cheer him on to win this, but I just think Fielder is just going to be too amped up. He's been to at least 3 or 4 home run derbies so far in his career. He knows how to keep himself, in the game, in the mode during each round. So I just think Fielder is going to take this thing. And as much as I really don't like him, I respect him as a player, and I just think that as a derby competitor, he's going to turn into one of the all-time greats.
I like your picks. I don't have a problem with picking Fielder. But my pick out of the AL, he reminds me of what Josh Hamilton did way back when. I think Chris Davis will definitely be the representative from in the finals from the AL. Chris Davis he's unreal. But the thing about him versus Fielder, and I think this benefits Chris Davis, is Chris Davis's swing is not very, I guess you would say, taxing on the human. He's more of a majestic swinger. It's kind of just, he gets a lot of torque on a swing and he's able to just send it out. As composed to Prince Fielder, who looks like he's having a heart attack each time he swings the ball. And that's not anything against Prince Fielder, because he swings the ball hard, or the bat hard, but every time he swings, he's putting so much power behind that swing, and that's taxing over time. Chris Davis, when he hits a homer, he just swings. He's not aiming for the fence, he's just swinging the bat. And that's why I think Pedro also has an advantage in this. Pedro just swings the bat. He doesn't put much effort into his swing. Robinson Cano and Pedro also have, they have very similar swings, and I think Robinson Cano can make somewhat of a chance here, but after his performance last year in Kansas City, which was pathetic, I see Chris Davis, Pedro Alvarez. I'm going to take Chris Davis as the winner here, just for the sole reason that I think this first round, I'm going to call Pedro Alvarez is going to hit 23 homers, and I think Chris Davis is going to hit 28, and they're literally just going to keep hitting them. I think Bryce Harper, just because I hate him, I think he's going to hit 1 or maybe none. Robinson Cano is going to have a bad outing, and same with Yoenis Cespedes. So we'll see, but I'm definitely picking Chris Davis to win this thing. The guy has 37 homers this season. There's no stopping this guy.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue that pick. It's a good pick. But with the All-Star game coming up tomorrow night, what, Corey, are you looking forward to the most in tomorrow's All-Star game?
I'm looking forward to seeing I'm just looking forward to the All-Star game in general. I absolutely love it. I think it's a fun day to watch, and I really look forward to how Bochy is going to use some of the Pirates' bullpen guys. I'd like to see Melanson pitch at least a couple times, and I'd like to see Grilly pitch at least a couple times. What would be very interesting and really awesome is if he threw in Melanson and Grilly 8 and 9. And I don't think that's going to happen, but I think that would be pretty neat to see, especially since they've been the two biggest shutdown guys that you've seen in a long time, especially since Grilly got his fame ever since he struck out the 2, 3, 4 guys from Detroit in that Detroit series. So I would like to see how Bochy uses Melanson and Grilly.
For me, it would have to be the matchup of Matt Harvey, who is presumed to be the starter for the NL, going up against Chris Davis, the best power hitter right now in the game, and probably one of the best pitchers right now in the game. And Harvey has some nasty stuff. I just think that's going to be, if Davis has at least a couple of bats and maybe Harvey's in there for maybe a couple innings, just to see them go up against each other, I think that's just going to be some must-see TV. So that's definitely what I'm looking forward to the most. But with that will end today's show and the Sports Wrap with Michael Kravetz, effectively now. So that will do it. I'd like to thank Corey again for coming on here and co-hosting the show with me. Almost a full year since I've done this, 50 episodes. It was a great experiment, and hopefully I'm going to continue to take this on to the next level with my radio show this fall. So, signing off for the final time, I'm Michael Kravetz, and you just listened to the Sports Wrap.